According to a news story written by Sala for ABC in 2008, Olympic athletes found to have caffeine in their system would have been disqualified from competition until as recently as 2004. This may come as a surprise, as between coffee, soda, and tea, many of us consume caffeine each and every day. This brings me to the central theme of my speech. Caffeine can have both positive and negative effects on the human body. For the positive effects, I will show the psychological benefits of caffeine. The caffeine increased the performance of Navy SEALs during their Hell Week. And finally, the caffeine can reduce the risk of depression in certain cases. Conversely, on the negative side, I will show the role of withdrawal in caffeine consumption. The caffeine can promote unhealthy habits. And finally, the caffeine can lead to dehydration under certain circumstances. Let's first consider the positive effects before later moving to the negative effects. We all know that caffeine provides certain beneficial effects to those who use it. The first beneficial effect was shown by Childs and DeWitt in 2006, and that as little as 30 milligrams of caffeine can increase concentration, create a better mood, and decrease reaction times. That's around 2.5 to 3 ounces of coffee, so not very much. According to Salinas and Partners in 2002, caffeine exerts its effect by ensuring that certain brain cells can release dopamine. To illustrate this, I brought this visual aid with 2 different cases, one without caffeine and one with caffeine. In our discussion of caffeine in the brain, there are 3 main chemicals that we need to know: caffeine, dopamine, and adenosine. On the visual aid, adenosine will be represented by the lid, the brain cell will be represented by the cup, and dopamine will be represented by the ball. In the case with caffeine, caffeine will be represented by the post-it note. When caffeine is not present, adenosine acts as a lid to the brain cell, ensuring that it can't secrete dopamine, like so. When caffeine is present, it replaces adenosine on the brain cell, but instead it will allow dopamine to be secreted by the brain cell, like so. The whole time that caffeine is present, it will allow dopamine to be released, keeping you concentrated and upbeat. The second benefit of caffeine was shown by Lieberman and Associates in 2002, in that it increased the performance of Navy SEALs during their Hell Week. Hell Week is a part of Navy SEAL training in which participants are subjected to large amounts of physical and mental exercises with severely limited amounts of sleep. In an activity in which Navy SEAls had to identify targets in the least amount of time possible, participants given 300 milligrams of caffeine, or the highest dose of caffeine in the study, performed the best. This result can be interpreted to show that caffeine combated the effects of lack of sleep and increased concentration of the Navy SEALs. If this result is true, then caffeine consumption could also be useful in other stressful situations for where concentration is required, such as midterms week for a college student. The third and final benefit of caffeine was shown by Andrew Smith in 2008. It was that individuals who frequently consumed caffeine tended to be depressed less often than individuals who did not consume caffeine. The other side of caffeine consumption is that it can have negative effects on the human body. The first negative effect is that when people who frequently consume caffeine choose to stop consuming caffeine, they can experience symptoms of withdrawal. According to, or a quote on page 320 of a paper published by Sheldon Griffiths in 1996, states that common withdrawal symptoms include fatigue, lethargy, and flu-like feelings. The researchers also found that people continue to consume caffeine more to avoid the negative withdrawal effects than to receive positive benefits from caffeine. The second negative effect of caffeine is that it can promote unhealthy habits, such as consistently getting less sleep than is necessary to be rejuvenated naturally. In our contemporary hustle and bustle society, caffeine is commonly used as a crutch to make up for not getting enough sleep the night before. According to Yu and Associates in 2007, sleep deprivation can result in decreased ability to fight off illnesses, less efficient learning, and an increase in negative emotions. The third negative effect of caffeine is that it can promote water loss. According to a study published by J.D. Stuckey in 1998, caffeine can cause us to urinate more often, and water loss can ensue. This becomes a problem for athletes working out in hot conditions, as they might already be near the edge of dehydration. With all the facts on the table, it becomes necessary to tie it all together. For the case in favor of caffeine, I have shown the psychological benefits of caffeine, that caffeine increased the performance of Navy SEALs during their Hell Week, And finally, that caffeine in certain circumstances could possibly serve to combat depression. For the drawbacks of caffeine, I have shown the role of withdrawal in caffeine consumption, that caffeine can promote getting too little sleep, and finally, that under certain circumstances, caffeine can cause dehydration. As can be seen, the benefits of caffeine also come with certain negative effects. So to end, I would like to remind you that caffeine is not a miracle drug that gives you superpowers without any consequences. Just like anything else in life, it should be consumed in moderation and with both the benefits and drawbacks in mind.